Hello, I'm Naomi Craig. I'm here for 5 Minute Book Review. Today I am reviewing A Voice in the Wind by Francine Rivers. It is a very, very fabulous book. It is, I would consider it biblical fiction. It takes place during the early church era, and whereas the characters are fictionary, they do interact with John, the disciple, and they're in the cities that Paul mentions in the letters. So um, I know some people don't consider that more of like a biblical era rather than biblical fiction, but I think it falls during Bible times, in my opinion. So this is Voice in the Wind by Francine Rivers. And it does take place it begins at the fall of Jerusalem, and it follows the life of Hadassah. She is a Jewish Christian, so she was enslaved in Jerusalem when Titus destroys the city and is sold eventually to the Valerian family. And so here is my 5 point review of Voice in the Wind. Number one, Hadassah is a young Jewish Christian carried as a slave when Jerusalem falls. Number two, Julia is her young owner. Julia Valerian is her self-centered mistress, intent on experiencing everything life has to offer. Number three, Marcus Valerian is her older brother, and he is actually the one who Julia models her life after. So he's intent on experiencing everything too. And of course, later on, he and Hadassah they start to have feelings for each other. So, number four, Hadassah serves the Valerians faithfully and grows to love them and wrestles with sharing Christ, because she is in a time where Christians were, they were sent to the games. They were lion bait, really. So she struggles with some fear as she's trying to honor Christ and trying to tell her owner family about how much Christ loves them and how much Christ can change their life. She is actually the daughter of, if you recall from the Bible, the young man who was raised from the dead, the widow of Nain's son. So that is actually her father in that. So Francine Rivers, if you've never read any of hers, she's fantastic. She's known for being very deep and very vivid with her descriptions and her spiritual points. And that same thing can be a little turn-off-ish if you're not. I mean, it's heavy because during this time in the Roman Empire, people are living for the lust of their flesh. They're living for whatever food they feel like eating, and they are living for pleasure, they want to see the next excitement at the games. They're living for themselves. And honestly, when I read this, it was such a parallel to today's world. But really, it does, just as a warning, it's probably about a PG-13, I would say, if it was a movie, because it deals with very heavy stuff, and what she is known for, what Francine is known for, is not shying away from the heavy stuff. But if you're looking for a good, light-hearted Christian read, this isn't it. So it's very deep, very heavy at times, and whereas it ends kind of a cliffhanger, it gets you ready for the next. There's three in the series. It gets you ready for book number two. Some people might be upset with how it ends, so I guess make sure you have number two ready to go before you begin number one. as that call. So, and then my number 5, my quote from this. Um, so there's also a third key player in this, is Atreides, and he is a German. He's been enslaved. He's like basically like Hercules. Like he's trained as a gladiator, and he eventually wins his freedom, because of how many kills he's done and how efficient he is. So Atreides is comes to know Hadassah, and this is what he says to her. And this might be a little bit of a spoiler alert, so if you haven't read this, I don't think it'll actually give away anything, but I just love the wording so much. So if you don't want to hear a spoiler, potential spoiler, then close your ears, please. All right, so this is from A Voice in the Wind by Francine Rivers. Though he'd never fought lions and knew there was little chance he would survive, he had to try. A word in the right ear, and I'd be in the arena as your champion. I have a champion already, Atreides. The battle is over. He's already won. She held his hand firmly in her own. Don't you see? If you went back into the arena now, you'd die without ever fully knowing the Lord. So I just love that, how she grows in her faith as a Christian, and how she overcomes the fear of. I mean, I would be in that same spot. It would be hard to share if you knew you were instantly putting a death sentence on yourself. So I just love how she serves so cheerfully and so valiantly to this family who's so lost, and the Lord really does use her to influence the family. So that's really beautiful to see. So anyway, there you go. That is my 5-minute book review of Voice in the Wind by Francine Rivers. If you like getting my book reviews, make sure to subscribe so that can come right into your inbox. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop me a note. Thanks so much for tuning in.